Hello, it's week 29 of season 6 of the Andy Griffith Show. This week's episode title is The Battle of Mayberry. Barney, what's going on this week?
Ulti's teacher, Miss Crunt, brings a guest into the classroom one day. His name is Mr. Upchurch. He's the publisher of the Mayberry newspaper, and he tells the kids it's the 50th anniversary coming up of the founding of the paper by his father. And to commemorate this, he's having a contest to award a gold medal to whichever student writes the best essay on the Battle of Mayberry. This was an important battle between the early settlers and the Indians. The winning essay will be published on the front page of the anniversary edition of the paper. And Miss Crunt tells the students, "You all have already learned something about this battle, so work hard at researching more and do well." And that night at the supper table, Ulti tells his pa about the contest.
And Andy says, yeah, that'll be interesting to write about. And Aunt B says, yeah, Opie, particularly since one of your ancestors, Colonel Carlton Taylor, was one of the heroes of that battle.
And Andy says he's not sure he was a colonel, although he was an officer. And he wasn't part of the real army, but it was more the militia that got together to protect the settlement. But it was still an important battle. And Andy says you'll have to work hard to get all the facts right. And he suggests that Ulti go to see Floyd, since Floyd had kin in that battle. So Ulti does that, and Floyd says, yeah, one of my kin, Colonel Caleb Larson, was the hero of that battle.
And Goober's in the barbershop at the time and says, no, it was my ancestor, Colonel Goober Powell of the North Carolina 7th Cavalry, who was the true hero of that battle. And Floyd and Goober start arguing.
They argue while Ulti's trying to take notes, and then Floyd gets mad and he throws Goober out of the barbershop. And that night Ulti tells his pa about the argument, and he later tells him he also talked to Mr. Magruder and still got another version from him. And then Clara Edwards comes in with the sword. She says she heard about the essay Ulti was writing, and she wanted to make sure he knew about her ancestor, Colonel Edwards, who carried that sword all the way through that battle. She says he was the commanding officer who led everybody to final victory. And then Aunt B says Ulti's ancestor, Carlton Taylor, was just as much of a hero. And Andy says, yeah, Mayberry was almost named Taylortown. And as Clara's leaving, she says, Carlton Taylor, it's possible.
And after Clara leaves, Aunt B's kind of mad at her for what she implied as for what she said as she was leaving. And Opie tells Andy that nobody in town seems to agree on anything other than the fact that the Indians were real mean.
He says he wishes he could get an opinion from an Indian. And then Ulti realizes there is a guy in Mayberry whose daddy was Cherokee, Tom Strongbow. And his pa says, yeah, I'll drive you over there tomorrow. And when Ulti meets Mr. Strongbow, the guy says, yeah, it was my ancestor, Chief Strongbow, who led the defense of the Cherokee hunting ground. And he even has a musket ball, which he says was taken out of the chief after the battle. And he says it was 50 braves against 500 settlers. And Andy disagrees with the numbers and with the fact that Mr. Strongbow has a different name for the battle and with the fact that he calls it an Indian victory.
And Mr. Strongbow gets all tense and tells Opie, you be sure to mention Chief Strongbow as the true hero of that battle in your essay. And then he walks away all mad.
And Ulti tells his pa he don't know what to write now. And Andy says, I'm going to Raleigh tomorrow on business. I'll drop you off at the public library there. You can get the true facts of the battle from the old newspapers they had there. And Ulti says that's a great idea. And at the library, Ulti finds a newspaper that gives an account totally different from what anyone was saying. And he shows it to his pa. And then he copies it all down. It was written by a reporter from Raleigh who at that time came to Mayberry to interview settlers and Indians, so it's a credible source.
Yeah, it says there was no Battle of Mayberry. It was really just a big fracas that began when a settler's cow got shot on accident by an Indian.
And then it was just a bunch of taunts and insults between 50 braves and 50 men of the town who didn't really want to fight anyway. and then they all drank some corn liquor until they were all happy and friendly. And then they all went deer hunting to make a compensation for the dead cow, but they killed the mule on accident. And the men made the battle story up because they realized how pathetic the story of what really happened was. And Aunt Dee says that this is printed in a tater, it's going to upset a lot of folks. And Andy agrees. So he calls Helen Crunt, and she says she'll determine the essay winner tomorrow after they're all turned in. And she says composition skills will be important, but also accuracy of the facts.
So Andy hangs up and says Opie might win this thing with a true story that he's going to write. And he goes up to Opie's bedroom and sees that he's writing the facts just as he found them in the newspaper.
And Opie won't let his pa help him with it. And the next day, Andy finds out from Helen that she chose Opie as the winner. And then he sees that all the guys in the daughter shop are excited about their ancestors getting mentioned, hopefully, in the essay that gets printed. They don't know yet that Opie won. And Andy tries to get Helen to change her decision, and she says no. She says Opie's was the best researched essay. So, of course, everybody's disappointed and even mad when they read Opie's essay in the tater, which says that nobody was a real hero. And folks are mad even a week later.
Then the governor of North Carolina gives Opie and the people of Mayberry a public commendation on his weekly radio address for their honesty about what really happened in that so-called battle.
He says they taught everyone a good lesson that conflicts can often be settled peacefully. And he says Mayberry should be proud. So everybody congratulates Opie.
We'll see you next week for episode 30, which will be the last episode of season 6.